Sarah Everard was born in 1987 in the British county of Surrey. As a child, she and her parents moved to York City, where she graduated from high school and college. After some time, she moved to London and got a job at a marketing agency, where she soon received the position of head of department. The evening of the 3rd of March, 2021, Sarah spent visiting a friend. About 9 o'clock in the evening, she headed home, deciding to walk. The route was supposed to take about 50 minutes. On the way, she called her boyfriend. They agreed to meet the next day. Since then, the girl has not been in touch, and the next day, on the 4th of March, her boyfriend contacted the police. Law enforcement agencies started searching and first of all restored Sarah's route from her friend to her home. This path ran through the district of Clapham, which are located near the center of London. At the same time, hundreds of volunteers joined the search. They put up leaflets, searched streets and parks. The police interviewed about 750 potential witnesses and studied the surveillance footage. On one of them they saw Sarah, who was walking along Pointers Road at 9:28 in the evening. At that moment, she was still talking to her boyfriend on the phone. 4 minutes later, the girl was caught on camera by a passing police car. Unfortunately, these images did not help the police to establish the current location of the woman. The search dragged on for several days, and on the 9th of March, 6 days after Sarah's disappearance, the police announced the arrest of a suspect in her abduction. To everyone's surprise, it turned out to be 48-year-old police officer Wayne Casinos. The man joined the Metropolitan Police in September 2018. Prior to his arrest, he patrolled the streets where the Palace of Westminster, the Prime Minister's residence and foreign embassies are located. Moreover, he was carrying an automatic weapon, and in Britain not all police officers have access to it. The police did not specify what kind of evidence brought them on the trail of their colleague. It was only known that a search was conducted in the suspect's house, and his cohabitant was also detained. She was suspected of assisting a criminal, but was soon released without charges. Immediately after the arrest, there was a wave of outrage throughout Britain. Women across the country demanded that the case be transferred to another agency, because no one believed that the police would investigate their colleague's case properly. But then the situation escalated even more. On the 10th of March, the police found human remains in a forest near the town of Ashford, about 90 kilometers from London. They were in a black bag. It took experts several days to establish the identity. To do this, they had to request a dental record. The deceased was Sarah. The police did not specify what the criminal did with the body, so that a dental card had to be used to identify him. Immediately after that, Casinos was charged with murder. While he was in custody, he was taken to the hospital twice. Both times the man had a head injury. According to the official statement, the suspect received these injuries when he was alone in his cell. Let's not speculate on how he actually got them. The whole of Britain was shocked that a policeman kidnapped a girl almost in the center of London without any problems. On the 13th of March, people decided to go on a picket to honor the memory of Sarah and express their indignation. However, the London police banned this event, citing anti-weed restrictions. The organizers of the picket tried to challenge this decision in the High Court, but even there they were banned. Because of this, the event was divided into 2 parts. Some people stayed at home and lit candles near their doors at 9:30 in the evening. Prime Minister Boris Johnson joined this action. Others took this ban with hostility and went out into the street. Several hundred people, mostly women, gathered near the makeshift memorial with posters, candles and flashlights. At first, everything went smoothly. The police officers who arrived at the scene did not interfere and stood aside. However, at some point, law enforcement agencies decided to disperse the picket, referring to the same anti-weed restrictions. As a result, several women were detained. This behavior of the police caused even more outrage across the country. People have demanded the resignation of Metropolitan Police Commissioner Cressida Dick. They were perplexed by the fact that a female commissioner had so harshly dispersed a peaceful picket at which other women demanded justice for Sarah Everard. In response to criticism, the head of the police stated that anti-weed restrictions are in effect in the country, and those gathered put themselves and others at risk. But these explanations did not satisfy either the public or the government. Prime Minister Boris Johnson and London Mayor Sadiq Khan criticized the commissioner's actions and supported the women who took to the picket. They also promised to take measures to protect women from harassment on the streets of London. Over the next few days, even more people came out to the memorial, but this time the police did not interfere and only stood aside. The picket participants demanded not only a fair investigation into Sarah's case, but also safety for all women on the streets. Meanwhile, Wayne Couzens was preparing to stand trial while under arrest. The public was waiting for the start of the process to finally find out the details of what happened. The trial began only a few months later, and on the 8th of July the criminal pleaded guilty. A few days before the incident, Wayne rented a car and bought a roll of strong film. The perpetrator did not know Sarah Everard and chose her as a victim after he saw her on the street. It is not clear exactly how he forced her to get into his car. Investigators put forward a version that the man could use a service uniform or a badge to convince the woman to voluntarily get into the car. Otherwise, if he tried to do it forcibly, Sarah would have to scream. And someone would have heard it for sure. After that, Wayne headed to the vicinity of the village of Tilmanstone, which is about 2.5 hours away by car from London. Arriving at the scene at about 1 o'clock in the morning, he abused Sarah, dealt with her and hid the body. Only a few months later, the authorities revealed the cause of death. It was strangulation. His route was tracked by street and traffic cameras. Investigators also requested information from the company where the man rented a car to make sure that he was really driving. On the morning of the 4th of March, the day after the murder, the criminal returned the rented car. In the following days, the man told colleagues and acquaintances that he was experiencing severe stress and did not want to carry a weapon anymore. On the 8th of March, when he was supposed to start work, Wayne announced that he was ill and did not come to work. The very next day, at about 8 o'clock in the evening, his colleagues came to his house with an arrest warrant. As it turned out later, the man erased all data from his smartphone 40 minutes before their arrival. During the first interrogation, Wayne gave his colleagues an invented story, worked out to the smallest detail. He stated that he often used the services of call girls, but recently experienced financial difficulties and could not pay them. Then a criminal group from Eastern Europe, which controlled this business, began to threaten him. As a solution to the problem, they allegedly demanded that the policeman bring them a new woman. Of course, no one believed this story. Firstly, the man served in a fairly elite police unit, and it would hardly be reasonable to threaten him for a small amount of money. Secondly, the whole story just doesn't make sense. Even if this story were true, does it make Wayne less guilty? Of course not. During the investigation, another interesting fact was found out. In 2015, the Kent County Police Department received a complaint about a certain man who was sitting naked in a car. Apparently, the police had enough information to identify this man as Wayne Couzens. But it never happened. At that time, he was already serving in the police, only in another department. As you understand, he would have been fired with a high probability for such behavior. But that's not all. In February 2021, Wayne publicly exposed himself in the restaurant hall, after which 2 policemen were called to the scene. Despite this, he also did not suffer any punishment, although the investigation into this case continued until the summer. Just a few days before the attack on Sarah, the man was questioned in connection with this situation. It is expected that the final court session will be held on September 29th. If there are no new twists in the case, the man may be given a final verdict. What do we have in the end? Firstly, it looks as if Wayne's colleagues turned a blind eye to repeated cases of public nudity. For any of them, he could not only lose his job, but also receive criminal punishment. Secondly, this situation has shown all residents of London that a woman can be abducted almost in the very center of the city, on well-lit streets. We still don't know how the police established Wayne's involvement in this crime. Perhaps his rented car also lit up on street cameras near the streets where Sarah was walking. Most likely, this information will be revealed at the trial on the 28th of September, and we will tell about it. In the meantime, let's hope that the culprit will suffer the maximum punishment. Take care of yourself and thank you for watching.